In Plato's text called Euthyphro, we have two people speaking, Socrates and Euthyphro. They just met right outside the courthouse. And Socrates says, "What's your case, Euthyphro? Are you the defendant or the prosecutor?" Euthyphro says that he's the prosecutor. And Socrates asks, "Who are you prosecuting?" And he says, "One whom I am thought crazy to prosecute." "Okay, so who are you prosecuting?" And Euthyphro says, "He's there to prosecute his father." Socrates freaks out a little bit and wants to know who his dad killed, such that Euthyphro is bringing his dad to court for justice. And Euthyphro says, "This is ridiculous, Socrates, for you to think that it makes any difference whether the victim, the person killed, is a stranger or a relative. One should only watch whether the killer acted justly or not. If he acted justly, let him go. But if not, one should prosecute." Euthyphro continues defending why he's bringing his dad to court. They say it is impious for a son to prosecute his father for murder. But their ideas of the divine attitude to piety and impiety are wrong, Socrates. If Euthyphro is being impious for bringing his dad to court, then he is lacking the feeling or the outward signs of the right kind or the right amount of respect or religiousness or holiness. As far as Socrates can see, Euthyphro thinks he knows what impiety is, and he thinks that his dad did something impious. Euthyphro seems to think he knows what piety is, and that it's pious to bring his father to court. What makes something pious? After a few attempts that are shown to be an adequate definition of piety or holiness, Euthyphro says, "What is dear to the gods is pious, and what is not is impious." How do we accurately represent the relationship between the gods loving something and then the thing being loved by the gods? So on one hand, you might think that gods loving something makes it to be pious. On the other hand, you might think that something's being pious makes the gods love it. We've got two options. On one hand, we start with the gods, and then the gods determine what is pious. Here's the statement: the pious is what is loved by the gods. So if the gods were to change their mind tomorrow and say that rape is bad, then raping would be impious. And if the day after the gods change their mind and say rape is good, then the pious involves rape. We start with whatever the gods feel like, and we work towards what they feel positively about. That's called pious. So here the pious is whatever the gods love. On the other hand, we might start with the concept of piety and then let piety determine what the gods love. So here we say the gods love what is pious. On this side, we would not be able to say that the gods change their mind about what's pious. The concept of piety exists beyond God. We're stuck having to pick a side and not knowing which side to pick. Does God love something because it's good, or is something good because God loves it? Does God command what is good, or is what is good whatever God commands? On one hand, maybe the right thing to do is to start with what gods love and then figure out what's pious or moral or good. Or on the other hand, we start with what's good and what's pious and holy and moral, and by studying that, we figure out what the gods love. We cannot have it both ways. That would be circular reasoning, which is fallacious. That's invalid, so we're not going to do that. We have two options, A or B. We must choose one. That makes it a dilemma. And if you say that God loves something because it is good, then you're saying that morality exists and God tracks what is moral and loves the things that are moral. So basically morality is independent from God. There are things that God did not control or create or command. On the other hand, you're saying that something is good because God loves it, or it's commanded because God loves it. So morality stems from God. Gods determine morality. But then you're saying that morality is arbitrary. It's whatever the gods love and command and want to see. That's what you should do. So when the gods change their mind, morality changes. I hope you're not looking for an answer from me.